If you feel like your salad game is kind of in the gutter, this spring pea salad with a crunchy, seedy nut topping is the perfect way to start upping your salad game and have full flavor. I'm gonna take you through each step so you feel confident to make this salad exactly the way it looks and taste delicious. Let's go. If you've been following me or happen to know me, you may know that I love a salad, especially a beautiful, crunchy spring Easter salad. That's what we're gonna call this, is a beautiful Easter salad. I eat a salad almost every day, and I think we need to bring them back to be the star of the meal. And that means making good components, good ingredients, beautiful lettuce, amazing toppings that are not only healthy, but actually just are delicious and become such the center of the meal. There is no reason that salads take a back seat. No, and that's not what this one's gonna do. So to start, even though peas are really the star because in spring we start getting these beautiful peas in, we're gonna use frozen peas because they're always delicious and they're frozen when they're at their freshest point. So we're letting those thaw out because guess what? You don't need to cook frozen peas, especially for a salad. They have the perfect texture. They're blanched before they go in. I'm starting with a crunchy topping. I think that's super important. Something that has flavor and complexity, but also just a good crunch and texture to offset the salad. So I'm starting by taking some Marcona almonds. Now, if you have not had a Marcona almond, I live in Iowa. I can get these at the grocery store, so if I can get them, I think anybody can. But the important part here to know is they're different than the traditional almonds we're used to. Marcona almonds are more buttery, they have more flavor, and they really blend well with the peas we're using here, and that's why I'm using them instead of just almonds, is I want that, you just have to, sometimes you can taste it. That flavor, you're not gonna be able to get that somewhere else. So I'm just lightly, I don't wanna put them in a food processor, I don't want them that broken down. I want them just enough that they're gonna be some smaller pieces, and I have some butter melting on the stove in a skillet. And now what we're gonna do is assemble our crunchy topping in that skillet. Instead of roasting in the oven, we don't need to heat up the oven for any of this. We're gonna put it all into a skillet. So what I have here are my almonds that I've chopped up. I have some sunflower seeds. I love sunflower seeds, and some sesame seeds. So we're just doing complex, kind of like fun, crunchy toppings. So the reason we're doing butter in this case, I think you understand, butter has flavor. And I want that butteriness to really meld with those almonds, with these sunflower seeds, and with these sesame seeds. Now, this isn't quite done. We're gonna add a couple things to this. A little bit of honey. That's gonna kind of sweeten it. We're gonna have that salty, sweet flavor that we want. So you're probably gonna say, well, do you use roasted nuts, not roasted nuts? You really can do either. To me, it's like what you find, you can use. The important part to remember is, if it's roasted, most likely it's salted. If it isn't, that's okay, but know the salt level, because my Marcona almonds were roasted. They're gonna be fine in this. We're not over roasting them, but they weren't salted. So I do wanna add in a little bit of salt. You need that to be a salad topping, and a little bit of black pepper. So we're gonna let that all come together, start melting, and just really toast. So I just turned the heat off, and you can see everything gets a beautiful golden color, and that's what you want. So you're gonna have some different clumps and pieces. That to me makes it even better. That butter keeps it beautifully tender to eat, but still kind of crunchy, crispy once it cools. So remember, this has to cool, so we're just putting it on a parchment lined baking sheet, and we're gonna let it just cool. And if it's in little pieces, that's perfect. It's kind of hard not to just snack on and eat all of, but try to refrain. So that's gonna cool, and now we can just make our really simple dressing, and it's really one of my favorites to do. So what I have here are all the components, and we're just gonna put them all together. So to start, some mayonnaise. Now, this is a riff, I'm gonna say, on a childhood salad I loved, which is weird that I loved it as a child, but also not weird if you know me. It was called Pea Salad. If you're from the Midwest, there is a beautiful tradition of cold salads that are usually mayonnaise based, mostly mayonnaise. The pea salad I had was a pea salad with cheese and peanuts and mayonnaise. Don't knock it. It's good, but this is a riff on that, but with updated kind of like fresh flavors. So we're gonna take some mayonnaise. I home make mine. You don't have to. I know that not everyone wants to do that. That's fine. You can use whatever mayonnaise you enjoy eating, but the mayonnaise is gonna give it that, it has that flavor and that tanginess already, so it really works well here. We're gonna add in some buttermilk. So it's kind of a riff on a little bit of a ranch dressing too, and we can adjust the amounts we need here in a little bit, but we love that play of that tangy buttermilk with the mayonnaise and all these flavors. A dressing of mine will always need Dijon. I will argue that till the end of time. Dijon adds that complexity, that depth of flavor. It's so good. So what we have too are some wonderful herbs. So we have dill and parsley that I've been chopping up. And both of those just have a really fresh flavor. They work really well with the spring kind of profile that we're going with this. They have a beautiful kind of earthiness to them, but also just will work really well in here. So we want to put those right in there, just that beautiful herbiness. Fresh herbs, I think we all underutilize, especially when it comes to things like salads. So I'm chopping up some shallot. Again, these are kind of my components that to me it needs. Now, the reason I love shallot is it has a lighter flavor than onion. It's not near as strong, so it works really well. And if you haven't bought it in a grocery store, purchased it in a grocery store, they're small. They're these beautiful little shallot. I do grow them. I plant them in the fall, and then I harvest them late spring, summer. So what I'm gonna do now is take some garlic. I chopped off the root end, and then what I do is just take that hull off by smashing it underneath my knife. And then you just wanna chop it up and mince it. The reason I'm talking about lettuce in salad so much is I think we've fallen out of love with salad, and I think we need to fall back in love with it, because maybe we just kind of find salads boring. Maybe we think of those salads we used to get in restaurants in the 90s that were just like some lettuce thrown on a plate, couple shreds of carrot and a cherry tomato. And it was like, well, that's not great with some gloppy dressing. That's not what this is. This is gonna have delicious flavor, freshness, fresh crunch, and that's what you need in a salad, are all those components. So now I wanna make sure I get it in some lemon juice, which again, we're just adding kind of to those components of that fresh, that flavor, the brightness that we want. And we're gonna squeeze it right in there, and we're gonna just start whisking it. So I'm gonna take my whisk and just gonna bring this all together. Now, as you're whisking, you see you have this beautiful, almost like a fresh ranch, but not quite. We of course need to season any dressing, some salt, that is a must. A salad needs to be well dressed so it has good flavor. And remember, when you cook at home, when you use salt at home and don't eat out or eat processed foods, you're always gonna get less salt. So we're just gonna stir that in. I mean, is this not beautiful? And anytime you make a dressing, once it's made, you always wanna just take a little bit of green. And I know this sounds like, really, Caleb? Yeah, you need to taste what you're cooking. You need to know before you just put it together. So take a little bit of that dressing. It's actually really well balanced. I have a problem with loving too much pepper, so I'll probably just put another couple cracks in, but with the crunch of the lettuce. Lettuce almost has this sweetness to it, especially when it's more fresh. So I think that's a really good play with that tanginess of the dressing. So I'm gonna assemble this like a big salad, because that's how I love to present. I think it's beautiful. And you can see here, I have my lettuce leaves washed, of course. And the thing is, other than maybe taking like those thick stems off, I wanna leave it somewhat big pieces. I like those beautiful pieces of that lettuce kind of in there, and I'm just gonna tear them in so you get some nice shards, so you get some nice big pieces. And that to me is what the fun of this is. Make salads beautiful, make them something that people want to grab, and when they see it maybe on the table or on a buffet line, they wanna go after it. You know, I think so often when we let things become second nature, or when we just like do the same baked salad every time and kind of think, oh, no one cares about the salad. It's because we don't care about the salad when we're preparing it. So we want it to be beautiful. We want it to be great. Now, as I'm making it, I wanna make sure I dress it every so often, just so those layers underneath get the dressing they need. So I'm gonna just take a spoon, take some of this dressing, and just start drizzling it over as I go, so I can really make sure it's flavored all throughout. You wanna make sure it's well dressed, but also that it's not gonna take over. I like to just toss those underneath components, make sure they're getting that dressing on them, getting them a little bit coated, but again, you don't want this to overpower. You don't want it to overtake. You want it to just be like an accompanying roll. And then personally, I'm someone that does it in layers, so I'll put on then some of these more beautiful pieces of lettuce, take off any of those white bits, because they sometimes can get bitter at the ends of the leaves. And again, use whatever lettuce you enjoy. Maybe you're growing lettuce already. I'm in Iowa. Mine isn't quite ready in the garden yet, sadly. But we'll be getting there soon, and that's when I really start pumping out these big salads, because if I have it ready in the garden, that's what I'm gonna be using. A little bit more of that dressing kind of drizzled around. And then we can always leave a little dressing at the end if we need to dress it finally, or just have it as a side component for people. But again, I want all my other ingredients also to shine, so I don't want it to be overdressed. So now we can start talking about these other components we're gonna use, because there's a lot. So we have our peas that have been thawing. That's the important part to realize is when you buy fresh, beautiful peas frozen, they're frozen fresh. That means that they were quickly blanched. So once they thaw from your freezer, they have a great crisp, tender texture. And that's all you need to know about the peas. You want that crisp, tender texture. That to me is super important. I have some hard-boiled eggs. So again, hearkening back to that pea salad I was talking about growing up, that Midwestern cold salad, it would have hard-boiled eggs in it. And so what I want to do is just make sure, again, this is perfect for those spring, Easter. Look how beautiful that looks. What's nice is it has a lot of protein. So if you happen to want some more vegetarian options, not that I always want to say a salad has to be the only vegetarian option, but eggs do pump up that protein, which I like. And then some feta. I like to crumble my feta. So I like to get it in big hunks and crumble it so it has those beautiful irregular pieces. I don't want just all that fine ground, already pre-crumbled stuff. I want to be able to crumble my own on so you get the texture you want. That to me is what's super, super important. Now we have one of my favorite parts, the toppings. So if you look, do you see how they've just hardened into these bits that you can break apart? Guys, seriously, this right here, so good. Salty, sweet, perfect salad topper. You're probably gonna wanna make this and just keep it in a jar for your salads, not just to snack on. But then we're just gonna put this right on top. I mean, look at these big pieces. They add color, they add flavor, texture, everything. And once you get those crunchy bits on, it's time to eat. This is my favorite part. I mean, I'm not gonna eat this all, but I could. But it's me and my house, so you can eat out of the bowl. You know, the best part of the salad is to make sure you get some of all components. So get some of that egg, get some of that, see how it's all just like beautifully in there? Now, you guys, sometimes I get told, you don't take a big enough bite. You know why I don't? Because it's hard to talk and chew. But I'm gonna make sure on this one, I get a nice bite. Mmm. 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 Layers of flavor, layers of complexity, texture. It's hitting all those notes. We're getting fresh springiness from not only the peas, but that dressing that has the bright lemon, but then has the tanginess of the mayonnaise. It encompasses, encircles those leaves. You get that crunchy, sweet texture from one of my favorite things here, which is the crunchy bits. It's delicious altogether. And look at this. This is beautiful. So if you're having a spring celebration, if you're having an Easter celebration, a meal, a brunch, star of the show. Believe me, a salad can be the star, and that's what this is. So what do I hope you do with this recipe? Share it around. Share this around so everyone can see that this is doable. If I can make this, anybody can make it. And more so, salads can be the forefront and be exciting and fresh and filling. That's the point. Not always just a back seat. So make a delicious salad, and also check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. Easter Central is right there for tons of delicious recipes for you and your family. Enjoy.